Morning, folks. Mike here. I wanted to call out this comment because it's 100% correct. So, Truth Seeker, your comment is 100% correct. Generally, the GOP lines up in suburban, rural areas and doesn't do very well in cities. And I know that you're right, not just from polling and data like that, but because I grew up in a conservative area, and that's 100% right. It was very conservative in rhetoric. I'll tell you right now, the actions, not so conservative. The things that they do on a day in and day out basis are much more democratic, take care of everybody. One takes care of all. For instance, in farm communities, you have co ops. You have grain elevators that are usually owned by a bunch of different farmers. Everybody has a little slice of it, and they work to get the best price they can for each other. You also have things like the meat raffle and to fundraise, and you also have GoFundMe's going on constantly for this community. You have people coming together to look out for one another. That's not a dog eat dog world. That is a very much democratic world. So rhetoric and actions don't really match. So what happened? What happened was the 90s and the early 2000s. What happened was NAFTA and the WTO. The Dems signed NAFTA, negotiated by Republicans, but signed by Bill Clinton. That was the first punch in the face to the working class as jobs started going to Mexico and working class families had to try and adjust. And then the WTO, we admitted China with the idea that this would cause China to democratize. Yet another punch in the face to the working class people as more and more jobs started going to China because it was cheaper to make stuff in China for almost no wages and ship it back rather than make stuff here with good American jobs. So a conscious decision was made to give up good jobs in the short run for hopefully better jobs in the long term and lower prices in the meantime. And it was easier to make this shift in cities because there were more opportunities to get into the knowledge economy or the service economy in cities than there was in rural areas. And meanwhile, the Democrats had to go out there and keep winning elections, right? So they had to go out there and try and explain why this was better, why they signed these things into law, and explain that these are better for everybody in the long run. Meanwhile, the GOP is out there saying, listen to how the Democrats are telling you how much better your life will be eventually and how they want to run your life for you. We'll let you live your own life, just vote for us. And when you're losing jobs, harkening back to the good old days when jobs were plentiful and you got a party saying that they're going to let you run your life, that sounds pretty appealing. Most recently, the Dems, through both words and actions, have started implementing policies that are actually good for the middle class. Now they have the tough job of going out to the rural communities and trying to say, we've changed and this is why. I think it can be done, but it's something that's going to be very tough to do if you're going to try and break that stranglehold the GOP has on rural areas.